Welcome to the boardroom, focused learners. I'll be acting as your managing director for this explainer, and today we are running a high-level masterclass on tackling the AS-level Afrikaans essay topics. Forget the guesswork, all right? Today, we are treating your exam like an elite corporate client pitch. We are going to look directly at the hard data, the source material, and the examiner reports to uncover exactly how you can structure your responses with the absolute clarity and authority of an executive consultant. Let's get straight to the client brief.
Let's dive right into the high stakes of this proposal. 15%. Mastering the topics of daily life, urban and rural life, media, food, and drink accounts for a massive 15% of the total marks in Paper 2. In the corporate world, a 15% equity stake is an absolute game changer, and it's the exact same for your final grade. These aren't just casual conversation topics. They are rigorous academic arenas where you need to showcase a profound executive-level understanding. Nailing this 15% is literally the difference between an average portfolio and a highly competitive top-tier result.
To secure those marks, we're going to follow this structured roadmap to deconstruct our clients', or rather the examiner's, exact demands. We'll start with the core assessment principles, move into the procedural framework, elevate our pitch with critical analysis mastery, and finally run a risk assessment on examiner warnings and pitfalls.
Let's kick things off with Section 1, Core Assessment Principles.
The absolutely crucial first step is understanding the compliance standards Cambridge expects from top-performing candidates. Consider two hypothetical junior consultants on our team, Consultant Alex and Consultant Sam. Consultant Alex has amazing data points. They know all the Afrikaans vocabulary for urban and rural life, but they just list facts without any executive summary. That's purely knowledge and understanding. Then you have Consultant Sam. Sam is a highly persuasive speaker who can evaluate a situation brilliantly, but they lack the physical case studies to back up their claims. Successful candidates must demonstrate competence across all three of these distinct cognitive domains: knowledge, analysis, and evaluation, to show a connected conceptual understanding. If you're missing even one, your pitch is getting rejected.
This brilliantly illustrates the golden rule of our strategy. The assessment framework strictly prioritizes logical, structured, analytical depth over simply listing a superficial breadth of facts. Think back to Consultant Alex dumping data on the table. If you're writing a proposal on the media's influence, superficial breadth is just listing 10 different social media platforms in Afrikaans. Nobody wants that. Analytical depth is choosing just 2 platforms and rigorously analyzing their specific socioeconomic impacts on, say, local food and drink habits, backed by structured, logical reasoning. Depth always wins the contract.
Let's move to our next section and see how this builds into an actual procedural framework for tackling these high-tariff questions. You can capture critical method marks by systematically following this standardized 6-step sequence during your exam. This is your consulting methodology. Step 1, deconstruct the question, that is, your client brief. Step 2, extract relevant data. Step 3, select your analytical framework. Step 4, and pay attention here, execute with clear notation. Show you're working out. Step 5, verify your results. And Step 6, present it with the correct terminology. This exact sequence proves to the examiner that you are a professional processing complex information, not just a student taking a wild guess. Now, before we fix Consultant Alex and Sam's mock proposal, let me pause the slide deck for a quick mid-video CTA. To ensure your academic portfolio remains highly competitive, subscribe to our channel Ace the Exams @ Ace the Exams and enable notifications for our weekly consulting insights. Okay, jumping back in. When you reach that final step of presenting your information, remember that examiners demand strict adherence to these specific presentation conventions. Think of this as aligning your syntax with standard corporate formatting matrices, like the Peel paragraph structure. Your presentation must use proper headings, correct terminology, appropriate formats, and clear annotation. If you are analyzing changing dietary patterns in urban versus rural life, your annotations need to be crystal clear. Don't hide a brilliant African analysis behind a messy, unprofessional format.
Let's transition into Section 3, Critical Analysis Mastery. Welcome to the live audit workshop portion of this explainer. What's really interesting here is how we elevate an answer from a basic observation to a high-level executive evaluation. If I put a 60-second timer on the wall and ask you to analyze a text block comparing daily life in an urban setting versus a rural setting, you can't just list city traits and then country traits. Top candidates extract the highest value insights by using comparative connectives to highlight both similarities and differences, supporting each with concrete evidence. You need that connective tissue to draw sophisticated conclusions.
Furthermore, Evaluating the quality of evidence requires you to systematically run a risk assessment. Whenever you introduce evidence, say an analytical data chart about modern media consumption, you have to interrogate it, identify its limitations, identify the assumptions being made, explore alternative interpretations, and critically, assess how these factors affect your overall conclusions. If you aren't doing this, your proposal loses structural credibility instantly. Whenever you face a complex scenario regarding, let's say, food distribution or media access, apply this specific framework. Break it into logical steps. Solve it systematically. Check for reasonableness, meaning does your solution actually make sense in the real world? And finally, make justified recommendations based entirely on the data. This guarantees your reasoning remains airtight. For our final section, we are diving into the Principal Examiner Reports. This is our post-mortem on failed pitches to uncover the hidden traps that cost students their 15%.
Here is a massive client red flag. Candidates consistently confuse key terminology. You must explicitly define your terms first. If your essay relies on a complex concept, like cultural assimilation in urban life, you cannot just assume the examiner knows your personal definition. Define it explicitly right at the start. The reports clearly show that conceptual confusion leads straight to a breakdown in essay logic. The absolute rule here is define, then deploy.
Memorize these top 3 critical flaws from past papers. Vague answers are the enemy of academic writing. Examiners want specific, hard details. Also, candidates forget to audit their format and presentation. And finally, answers drift away from the specific context given. When discussing food and drink, don't just write a generic overview like "people eat differently now." Instead, specify that the shift towards processed foods in urban centers has fundamentally altered traditional rural culinary practices. Lock on to the specific context.
As we close the deal on this explainer, I want you to treat this as your executive framework summary checklist. Ask yourself this fundamental question before you draft your next past paper. Is your essay built on superficial breadth, or are you structuring it for analytical depth? Apply this exact playbook, utilize the 6-step sequence, and you will secure your success. Now for the final absolute call to action. Make sure you subscribe to Ace the Exams @handle, Ace the Exams. Hit that notification bell so you never miss an explainer, and comment below with your current academic level and your target subject. Keep focusing, keep structuring, and I will see you in the boardroom next time.